What's up, everybody? This is Tatiana with Back to Facts, and I'm here for another video to talk about our great country, our republic, our democracy in a republic that many of us feel is so threatened right now. So today they caught the guy who was sending crude pipe bombs to all of Donald Trump's enemies, and he has a crazy van with like Trump bumper stickers and pictures of Hillary and the CNN logo with the target, which is obviously cuckoo. It appears to be a culmination of 2 years of a lot of calls for violence. Okay, so let's walk this back. Our echo chamber news has definitely magnified this issue. How do you get to the point where you're talking about political violence? What you have is many election cycles of one of the main political parties in our country demonizing the other. I have been a part of that. I was a part of that up until after the election of 2016. I really felt that Republicans were selfish, that they did not have, there's been a lot of water under the bridge. On social media, when people bring up political violence, we have left-leaning people, friends of mine, talking to right-leaning people, friends of mine, and the right-leaning people will give a list of all the people who have called for political violence, like Madonna. I have long thought about blowing up the White House when they had the Women's March, as well as Eric Holder saying when they go low, we kick them. But then several minutes later, he did clarify. He said, I'm not suggesting doing anything illegal, but I'm just saying we have to get tougher. And then Hillary Clinton say, you can't have civility when somebody opposes everything that you stand for. I'd like to examine all of this because how do you advocate for political violence? Like, how do you get to that point in a peaceful democracy? And second of all, the people who magnify statements and take them out of context, do they have a responsibility? There have been many small stories about people beating each other up since before the election. On both sides. Before these pipe bombs hit the news, they were saying, what? Are you serious? You're saying that Democrats are attacking Republicans? Are attacking Trump supporters? All right, dude, well, Google it. Just talking down to the other person like, how can you even think that? When it's actually funny because let's go way back to October 2nd. Okay, because I know this news cycle is insane. October 2nd, envelopes were sent to General Mattis, the Secretary of Defense, as well as the Admiral John Richardson, as well as, lo and behold, I did not know this, was sent to Donald Trump at the White House with a white powder. The seeds of the castor bean can be processed to extract ricin without any technical expertise. Well, I looked this up. I didn't even know they had arrested a suspect in this case. His name is William Clyde Allen III, age 39, of Logan, Utah. He is a veteran of, I believe, the Navy. He sent a letter to the president with the language, Jack and the missile bean stock powder, and it did test positive for castor bean material. There was a lot of fear and outrage on the part of people who are supporting the president. Small doses of ricin are lethal to human beings if ingested, inhaled, or injected. Nobody was hurt, obviously. So I'm kind of wondering, are we going to say that Madonna is responsible for this man sending ricin to the president because she had often thought about blowing up the White House? Or is that rhetorical? Or is Eric Holder's statement, even though he qualified it, is that a rhetorical statement as the Washington Post so helpfully put in their headline that was a rhetorical statement? Do we see a difference in the coverage here? I mean, the pipe bombs, sure, there were 13 of them, and there were only 3 letters with ricin. We see the difference in coverage. I mean, we have not talked about anything else for the past 2 or 3 days. I don't think it was a conscious choice to kind of gloss over the ricin incident, but I do think that given the atmosphere of fear and taking things out of context that we have currently in this country, I think that the reaction to the pipe bombs has just, it's been to the complete extinguishing of any other news. Here's the thing. I remember, it was I think before the inauguration, also Loretta Lynch, she was on video saying something about blood in the streets. I have it here. But anyway, her exact statement was clearly intended to talk about protest. That, you need to get out and protest. She was thinking about, I'm sure, civil disobedience, such as we had in the 60s with the civil rights era. And she was basically trying to encourage people to stand their ground and stay true to their principles, even if there were bloodshed. But it wasn't good optics, okay? Just like it wasn't good optics when President Trump made a little aside about Montana. He's actually a senator, Greg Gianforte, who assaulted a journalist right around the time of the 2016 election, everybody remembers, and then apologized after he won election, and everybody was absolutely horrified because President Trump is obviously calling the fake news media the enemy of the people. So saying, are you kidding? The Trump supporters are violent, and they've been violent all along. They're just vile, and people of color live in fear because of that. And then the other side will say, are you kidding? Trump supporters are being attacked in restaurants. Their hats are being taken off. They're being assaulted. Politicians and people who work in the Trump administration are being attacked. Maxine Waters told them to go and confront people in restaurants. I just want to say right now that Maxine Waters was taken out of context. Yes, she was very forceful and you could say angry in her speech, or perhaps passionate, but what she was talking about was peaceful protest, pushing back. And so there is a difference between calling for political violence and saying that you can confront people in public places, because what they're doing is just so wrong. Now let's get to that. How do you get to the point where you are justifying political violence? Usually it's that you feel justified because the opposite team is working against the very fabric of your country. The opposite team has done something so bad and so vile that they deserve to be confronted in public spaces and chased out. So let's talk about that really quick. Everything builds on itself. There is nothing in isolation, especially now in the last 2 years. So children in cages, right? That is why people have been chasing, that's why they did something to Sarah Sanders at the Red Hen. It was right after all of that came out with the zero tolerance. Now, I would like to set the record straight. Children are not sitting in cages indefinitely. Every photo that you saw of the cages was from 2014. That is a processing center. That is not a concentration camp. And they get processed after crossing the border at El Paso or wherever they are. They are in a facility that they've had since at least 2004, according to my reporting, because I've talked to people who went through them. They call them hieleras, which is ice boxes. They feel very cold to someone who has just come in from the Rio Grande and the border. Regulations say the Border Patrol is supposed to keep it comfortable for both those being processed and for those who work there. Now, we all know when we're in an office building and it's absolutely frigid, we just wonder who the hell is operating this. I really believe it's something kind of like that. I think, the Border Patrol press guy really didn't give me any information that was helpful on, on the cages, but I did get the manual that says what's supposed to happen. It's supposed to be comfortable in there. As far as cages go, they are see-through chain link fences. They've got TV. And as soon as their identities are verified, they are they're placed in detention, yes, but it is usually a detention that has been fully vetted and has a lot of things to offer the children, such as classes, art, and exercise. Now, we have a problem with the backlog of those requesting asylum. The laws are different for those from Central America as they are from Mexico. In Mexico, they have to determine if they have a credible fear of returning to their country right away, and then send them back if they don't. For those from Central America, the law changed under Obama in Congress, saying that they had to have a hearing before a judge. So that is why they're all being detained, because we have a backlog of judges. And the stories that you read, the articles that came out about some of the children claiming that they didn't get enough to eat, improper behavior, those complaints, that's going to happen no matter where you are. That's going to happen in the Chicago Public Schools. That's going to happen anytime you have a place where you have employees who are authorized to work with children. It's terrible and it shouldn't happen. But complaints do happen, and there are some problems going on in the Border Patrol. They have a very short training time, and there are some issues there. But to pretend like this is all because President Trump is in office is very, very deceptive. So that generates the frustration and the outrage, which causes people to go confront Sarah Sanders as a liar, or, taking a stand because they feel like immigrants are being put into concentration camps. Do you understand how this justification is a false premise? Yes, I know. But the family separation, no one, Barack Obama, never did that. True. Family separation was not a good idea, okay? But I understand how, in terms of the illegal border crossings, I understand how the announcement was made of zero tolerance, because they are trying to discourage people from coming. This is what we do. We try and enforce the border. We try and catch people and prevent them from coming. But then when they come, we give them rights because they work here and they have a job. But we've never enforced things in the workplace through E-Verify. So we allow big companies, big farms to employ undocumented immigrants who have crossed illegally. And we don't ask, don't tell. So they obviously need rights because they are residents of this community, and we want the community to be safe and healthy, and we don't want them to be afraid. But we're approaching it from a backwards, really an ass backwards point of view, because basically we don't know who is here. That's an absolute fact. And anyone who says that there's no problem with illegal immigration is flip-flopping, number one, and is not being honest. So here's the thing. We have millions and hundreds of millions of dollars sent every year back to Mexico and Central America by those who are working here. That is actually propping up their economies, enabling the wealthy to basically do nothing to help their own people. The minimum wage there is like a fraction of our minimum wage, even if adjusted for the exchange rate. When President Trump first went to Mexico to have a joint press conference with Peña Nieto, the president then, I was so furious that he was going. How dare he? And I wanted to see protesters. There were hardly any in the streets. And he was saying, we want to help Mexico have a strong border. We want to help them to take care of their citizens. We want to do what's best for each of our countries. And I thought to myself, yes, I mean, I'm not naive because I've covered this community for years. But he is absolutely right. If you keep the situation unenforced, then you are basically enabling a system that is broken, that will never get fixed, and that will continue to encourage people to come, and that will continue to allow these countries to refuse to deal with their own menial, lower class that does menial jobs. In Honduras, in Guatemala, in El Salvador, the educational system is virtually nil. A lot of these people are Indians, and they don't even speak Spanish. They don't read. They are exploited and treated horribly by the wealthy. They're paid $1 a day. So basically they have a room, a place to stay, and $1 a day, but they can never really move up. Or the people that have come in the waves of the migrant waves from Central America since 2014, since the law changed, they have mixed reasons for coming. So this is the thing. We have this black and white coverage, anti-immigrant rhetoric by Donald Trump, anti-Muslim rhetoric. Have we all forgotten that ISIS took over in the Middle East? A lot of people call me naive. Why are you defending this president? Why are you normalizing this criminal, this fascist, this Hitler reincarnated? Well, who is the one who's being unreasonable here? I didn't know much about Donald Trump before he ran. And yes, I was definitely prejudiced against Republicans. I have since learned that many do care about the poor, our poor. They want people to have a living wage. They just think that the solution is different. Yes, I know, trickle-down economics. No, that's actually a straw man argument. And a straw man argument is basically distorting your opponent's argument and then attacking that. So basically it's like, oh, trickle-down economics, you liars, you greedy liars, you're all the 1%. When really, no, we're talking about Main Street. We're talking about the backbone of our country. We're talking about people who feel that free market will produce a better healthcare system, who feel that the United States can make its own way in these situations, these dilemmas that we have, who feel that maybe there are some creative solutions that need to be pursued rather than just making people dependent on the government. Yes, I know that's an opinion. There's too much to cover all in this one video, but I would really, really like to say that this latest thing about political violence, who is worse, I have seen people taken out of context on both sides, and I know you don't want to hear that. I will leave you with that. We need to always take the reporting on political violence with a grain of salt. And you know what? If anyone had been killed by a pipe bomb, if anyone had actually opened their own package, any of those officials who are our brothers and sisters in this country, it would have been a very, very, very sad day indeed. But what I'm glad about is that we have the opportunity to change. I think President Trump needs to tighten up his act. He needs to clean it up, and I've said that from the beginning. He needs to basically learn finesse things. He needs to learn some tact. So with that, I will leave you, and I think that we should all do better, and we should all make sure that we're really getting the whole context when we hear about political violence, all right? And also watch Back to Facts because I'm helping set everything straight. Thanks. Appreciate you watching. Bye-bye.